Jen, thanks for coming in and talking to me today.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, well, in the introduction, people know that you're our city sustainability coordinator, but they might not know that today is Earth Day.
It is. Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. We did not plan that at all, but it's just a kind of a neat little twist. What, you know how long Earth Day's been around, roughly?
50 some years.
Yes, exactly. I just, before you came in, I just Googled Earth Day because I thought, how long has Earth Day been around? I kind of always remember it being around. So get this. Earth Day's been around for 52 years. I'm 52. So I've always known Earth Day. It started in April of 1970. I was born the prior August.
Okay.
So I was born in August of 1969. But still, just before my first birthday, it was Earth Day. Yes.
Actually, the chair of our Sustainability Commission, his birthday is today on Earth Day. Yes, he was very proud of that fact.
Now you're just...
I'm not even joking about that.
Okay, so I like how you jumped right in with Sustainability Commission, because my first question is what does it mean to be the sustainability coordinator for the city of Eden Prairie? So can you tell us a little bit about the work you do? One of the work items is managing and working with one of our commissions, our Sustainability Commission, but I'll let you tell us what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, I work with our Sustainability Commission here in the city of Eden Prairie, but I also manage our Sustainable Eden Prairie program that's focused on educating the public and implementing sustainable practices to protect our environment and natural resources. We focus on energy, waste, water, and landscape in that program. And then as part of that, again, the liaison for the Sustainability Commission, who are appointed by the City Council to advise them on all sorts of sustainability issues.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about what we're doing maybe in a couple of those different areas. I'll just maybe start with, I can start with energy, maybe a little bit about what we're doing with energy, and then waste, and maybe share a little bit of that.
Sure. So energy-wise, I guess maybe the biggest project we have going on right now is we're building a community solar garden on the top of the community center. That construction is supposed to start any day now and be operating by later this summer. We'll have about 150 households that are able to sign up and offset their household energy use in that garden. One of only a couple of cities in the metro that has that sort of residential focused program.
Yeah, I mean, we have solar panels on a lot of our public buildings. And here we're sitting City Hall and our maintenance facility and our water treatment plant. But in the case of the community center, what's going to be built is, like you said, it's actually a community solar garden that people can sign up to subscribe to. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. The other kind of big thing that we're doing energy-wise is related to our fleet. We have a number of electric vehicles. We have 3, I think, on the fleet right now, and we have another 10 on order. So we're really moving aggressively to move away from gas combustion vehicles in the fleet and move towards electric.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten some notoriety for first Tesla as a police car, patrol car. For sure in the state, maybe there's only 1 or 2 in the country, and even the few others that exist in other cities in the country, I don't think they could argue that it's being utilized as a regular patrol vehicle used on any and all situations related to patrol. It's not like an investigator's car that you would drive around. It's a very active vehicle. So I think people are proud of that. And I say proud too because some people they're not surprised, but when you tell them that the payout of a Tesla actually comes out ahead of, the Dodge Chargers or similar. What did you say? Did you say gas combustion? What did you say? What's
I
your term?
did. Yeah, gas combustion.
Gas combustion.
Internal combustion vehicles, ICE vehicles.
Yes. The payout over time, 10 years or so, it's the Tesla comes out ahead, and that's before gas was even close to $4 a gallon. That's when it was like $2.50 a gallon. The Tesla still comes out ahead. So, yeah, I know. No, you're on you and yourself and the commission and our fleets people are always looking at new electric. That's great.
Yeah, and everything that we're doing around, really a lot of the work that we do in the Sustainable Eden Prairie program is based around our climate action plan. which has an overall goal of carbon neutrality by 2050. And a number of different actions are identified in that plan around energy and waste and water, as you had mentioned. But we also have to partner with residents and businesses on that, because there's obviously a lot of things we can do as a city to move towards that goal, but we would never be able to get there on our own.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think a big discussion point has been this climate action plan. And of those areas you just mentioned, if I remember right, is by far the biggest bang for your buck to get their energy.
Yeah. Energy is around 63% of the emissions citywide. So it's our biggest source of emissions in the community.
So when you think about not just the city government, but if that, again, like you said, it's citywide, the city, not the city government, being carbon neutral by 2050, then the thought with energy is I think we'll see this anyway, but we would need to see a lot of people with electric vehicles and sustainable homes and more solar.
Yeah, it's a variety of different actions. There's actually a lot of efficiency upgrades that can be made in existing buildings, so residential buildings, commercial buildings. That's a pretty big chunk of it. Renewables, so adding rooftop renewables, usually solar in this case, to sort of offset some of those energy uses in buildings is another big thing. Actually changing the power that comes into our homes from Xcel. Right now it's a mixture of wind and gas and a little bit of solar, natural gas. But Xcel Energy has big goals to also be carbon neutral by 2050. So that helps us in our own emissions as well as they kind of make that transfer over. But yeah, energy side, and then as you mentioned, electric vehicles, that's, I want to say, almost 95% of what we need to do in travel to hit our goal.
Yeah.
So really focused around electric vehicles, and then of course transit and those sorts of things.
Sure. And in terms of waste, I mean, we, as many cities in Hennepin County, and you work on this, we have an organics recycling program now. That's brand new.
We do. It's been pretty popular. That's something that just rolled out last November. Residents can sign up for curbside organics collection, and as part of that, we can offer them a rebate if they sign up through their hauler for the program.
Okay. So, yeah, in our city, it's still, everything is privatized in terms of the pickup. So there isn't any city picking up of recycling or organics, but it's done privately, and all of those private haulers offer it. And you're saying if a resident signs up with their hauler, we, the city, will give them a rebate.
Correct.
So it's just, is it something that, obviously I'm sure you can find it on the city website, but do the haulers know that to direct people to us, or is it more just
They do. One of them promotes it actually as part of their service when they're offering information around organics. Say, if you sign up, here's the cost, and also the city of Eden Prairie offers a $50 rebate on top of that as well.
Yeah, good. And we have, and I think this helps toward sustainability, our own yard waste drop-off site. We didn't previously. You'd have to leave the city or travel if you wanted to dispose of your yard waste, but we have our own site now in Eden Prairie.
Yeah, it helps people if you don't want to sign up for an add-on yard waste service through the course of the year. If you maybe don't have that much yard waste you need to collect, you could just take it for free over to our site across from the airport and take care of it.
Yeah, free.
For free.
Free. What would you say is the most, for the job here, two things, probably the most rewarding doing this work, and then something that might be probably the most challenging for you or for the position?
Well, the most rewarding part is all of the relationships I get to develop, really by a long shot, actually. It's been so awesome being here because the residents have a real interest in sustainability and climate change. And anytime I get to connect with them and provide information that, maybe they didn't already know, I can tell that they're sincerely engaged and thankful for that. So that's really inspiring to work with. Just last week, I went to a senior co-op. They were really interested in recycling and organics collection, so I went and gave them a presentation, and they all came down for it and were so engaged in the conversation and asked questions, and that's been super, super fun about working here.
They all came down for it. So what, you're thinking that you show up, Jen's in the lobby, and people aren't going to come down. They're going to stay in
I thought, maybe a dozen, and I think we were probably pushing around 50 residents.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, they were great, and they had great questions, and they want to sign up for organic service there. So it was fantastic.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, that is, I mean, it can be a challenge in maybe some large multifamily properties, homeowners associations, big areas. I know that might be a little bit of a hurdle, right?
It is a little bit. They have to work with their hauler and their property management company to kind of figure out how collection works in a multifamily building versus, a single family household where you just have your cart and, that's the end of it. So,
yeah.
They were interested, and it feels like every time I talk to different community members, it's kind of that same thing. They're just always interested, have feedback, supportive. So
that's
great
good.
fun.
I mean, a lot of our sustainable programs they're not really expensive, high cost items. A lot of it really is just helping other people have practices, procedures, things that they do, things that they can do that make things more sustainable in terms of we don't need to spend a lot of money on it. In terms of the position, this is a newer position for the city. So we have had different people throughout different divisions promoting sustainability, but I think it's only been within the last, 5 years that there was a desire to actually have a position devoted to this. So, and we had someone else who had another job internally that was doing this for a period of time, but it isn't the job that they started out with. You actually came here as someone who worked in sustainability from other areas. So I'd like to hear about that a little bit too, maybe taking a step back. Kind of what got you into this field at all?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually, my background is in public administration, so both my undergrad and my graduate degree were in that field. So I've always been interested in public policy sort of broadly. And sort of concurrent to that, in my own personal life, I've always been interested in environmental issues and kind of following climate science and that kind of thing. So that was developing over time. And the first job I had in local government was over with the city of Oakdale. And when I started, it was just sort of an entry-level, catch-all sort of position. But very shortly after I started, there was an opening for the staff liaison for their Environmental Management Commission, which is something that they've had, I think, since maybe the early 90s. So it was a long-standing commission that they'd had there.
Okay.
They were looking for a staff person to take it over, and I fit the bill, I guess.
Okay.
And so it just went from there. And that was really, I guess, when I started to see sustainability as a career pathway. And I feel lucky that things worked out the way they did, because I just fell into it. Kind of figured out I was a little bit of an energy nerd. So
yeah.
I liked thinking about how buildings use energy and how we could replace that in solar projects. I ended up writing my thesis in grad school on renewable energy standards. So just a light topic.
Yeah. Well, but what you're saying, though, is, you were in public administration, so it made sense to be in government or even local government. You could have, I guess, if in terms of the environmental field, you could have gone to the state of Minnesota. It's all kinds of agencies and positions in the state. It is funny that from a city perspective, suburbs, Eden Prairie, Oakdale, many others, that this whole sustainability positions, people in positions in cities is still, to me personally, rather new. I mean, I've been doing this for 26 years or so, and there's, this is kind of a growing area in city government. But the state has always had positions. There's a very robust nonprofit field for sustainability, but you got into a city, you had that sustainability desire, but it sounds like you kind of worked your way into that position and evolved over your time there, because you didn't even do work with the commission right away.
Correct. Yeah. It just sort of evolved somewhat naturally. But once I got into it, besides, just being interested in the energy part, I really liked building something from the ground up that didn't exist before I was there. When you think about the functions that a city does, police, fire, there's things that cities do that they've been doing forever. So there's really kind of an established pathway on how to proceed with that. This was completely new. So there wasn't any blueprint to follow. I liked the opportunity to be creative and build those new connections and kind of take it and run.
And we hired you away from there.
You did.
We did. Our gain. But no, you talked about where you graduated from. Where'd you go to college and graduate school then?
St. Cloud State for my undergrad, and Minnesota State Mankato for my graduate degree.
Yeah, I was going to say, now people going to Mankato are supposed to call it Minnesota State University.
Yeah.
Right. But I know a lot of people that, and that's, and as you know, because Mankato, I know many people, city managers, people in our field that went to graduate school in Mankato. They all still call it Mankato, but I guess now we're supposed to call it Minnesota State.
We're supposed to, yeah.
Did you watch their hockey? You didn't watch any? You didn't watch the hockey games?
I mean, I went to the Twin Cities campus of Minnesota State, Mankato.
So it's different.
I don't really feel connected with the school in any way.
No, it's not the same.
More power to them for that.
No, not the same, but no, it's very, very different. If you had been in Mankato, it's different. It's almost like you really didn't go there, actually. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in southwest Minnesota in a small town called Brewster.
Oh, hey, I've been to Brewster.
Why?
I have. When I was the city administrator in Hector, Minnesota, which is in Renville County, central Minnesota, I went to Brewster for some kind of regional meeting of cities in that area back in like 1996. Were you in Brewster in 1996? You were, weren't you? Yeah, you were.
I may have been a senior in high school.
Yes. I may have been in the high school. I don't remember where I was. Now, here's the thing, and I could be wrong about this. Could have been another city. But was there like a tornado that came through that area or a few cities near there? No, not in the early 90s?
Wow.
Okay. What's Brewster's in what county?
Nobles.
And
Worthington. Worthington's the closest city.
It's the closest, biggest city, county seat.
Yeah, Worthington's also the county seat.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to Brewster. How big was your graduating class?
I think 29.
Okay. Are they still there? Are they a standalone high school?
No, at the time they were even combined with other schools, and that's changed since I've been there.
Okay. What were the other cities they were combined with at that time? Do you remember?
Sioux Valley and Round Lake. Yeah, I remember.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's because it really wasn't that long ago.
It really wasn't.
Yeah. No.
Interestingly enough, our receptionist here has family from that same general area. She grew up around Fulda, which is nearby.
Yeah, that's right. Wendy, you're talking about.
Wendy,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We both received a similar graduation present. I think to Wendy, it's her mom's cousin is the relation, and she was neighbors and friends, the woman that made these blankets for graduation. Lived very close to us, and my grandparents and them were friends. So we both got homemade graduation blankets in our school colors. And I don't know how we ever both figured out that we both got these blankets, but we have them.
Wow. Okay, but you're saying that there is a person who provides a blanket to every graduate?
Well, to people she knew. So, you know, we lived in the neighborhood. Wendy was related to them. I don't remember exactly the relationship there.
What a small world.
Yeah. So, no, not to everyone. And she's since passed, but she was a wonderful person.
That's really neat.
Yeah. So we should have a blanket day here where we bring them both in and share them.
What are the school colors?
Blue and silver.
Okay. So, Brewster to St. Cloud, not to Mankato, to
not
the Twin Cities.
No.
Mankato campus. I didn't even know there was such a thing.
No, my first class for Minnesota State Mankato was actually in the Burnsville High School, which was a really odd experience to go back into a high school at that point in life, but it was great.
Yeah, that is interesting. But obviously, when I say, you talked about becoming interested in sustainability, it's like, well, yeah, that's, you talked about your master's thesis. So you had planned on applying for jobs in that area. And did you say, was Oakdale your first job out of school, basically?
No, it wasn't. So I actually worked right down the road at the Optum campus for my first few years out of undergraduate degree. Just because fresh out of college, needed some sort of job and kind of recognized probably going to have to go back and get a master's degree. So many years ago, I worked right down the road.
Okay. When you say down the road, the Optum here, that's more by the Prairie Center Drive, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, the original.
So we, one of our newer Sustainability Commission members is that Optum or UHG? Maybe that's UHG.
She's UHG.
UHG, but she's involved in sustainability.
Yeah, at the time it was called Ingenix. It wasn't even called Optum.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I think the Optum thing probably has only been about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So you worked there, but was it something environmentally related? No,
Not at all.
not at all. Healthcare.
Healthcare.
And then Oakdale?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then maybe in the back of your mind you thought, oh, I worked in Eden Prairie for a while and I'm in sustainability and there's a job opening there and I've been to that city before. I think I'm going to try that.
Yeah, I think so. That might have been part of it. It might have been.
Maybe it had nothing to do with it. I'm just trying to.
It was a good opportunity. Eden Prairie had a good reputation for being fairly aggressive in their sort of sustainability work. And so it was a great opportunity, the right people, the right time. I was happy to come on board.
Yeah, no. How long has it been now?
It'll be 2 years in June.
2 years. Yeah. Actually, I do. I remember a pandemic, being hired in the pandemic when we were, I wouldn't say we were closed. There's a time when this building was closed actually to the public, but there were a lot of people working remotely when you started.
My interviews were virtual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and almost no one was in the building. I think I was here for maybe a week or two, and then I went back home.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least here, Earth Day, April 22nd, 2022, where most of us are here in person.
Yep.
Okay, let's kind of getting back to sustainability here. What would be one really good piece of advice that you would give residents regarding sustainability as our subject matter expert here?
Well, I guess the one piece of advice I would have everyone think about is it seems like people can easily get sort of overwhelmed and feel like it doesn't matter what they do in the grand scheme of things. And that's actually not even true. Behavior changes, just even little things. We're not even talking about investments, but just thinking about when you run your appliances, thinking about what you purchase and how you get rid of it or reuse it, thinking about how you heat and cool your home. Those all can lead up to 35% emissions reductions. So it does matter what people do in their own homes, even though sometimes it feels a little overwhelming. And then the other good piece of advice that I've recently heard was just whatever you start with, pick something that you're actually interested in. So if you have zero interest in organics recycling and you decide to sign up for it, that might be a little bit harder for you because you just don't have really an interest in it. But if you did, you're probably going to stick with it a lot longer and do it better.
Yeah. I know that the piece about a little bit from everybody adds up to a ton.
Yeah, it's surprising how quickly it can add up in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, we talked too about, like, even when you went and spoke about recycling to a group of people, and then we've talked a lot about the organics program kicking off in Eden Prairie, and like when you give presentations to our city council, and there'll be comments like, for people try to keep it simple, or I look at the poster for, I think the mayor says this, I look at the poster for organics and there's so much stuff on there, and if you just say, remember food, recycle your food, because people get kind of caught up in what about the pizza box or the paper plate. But if you get in a habit of just always doing that, then maybe you'll kind of grow from that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly right. There's still things that I have to stop and pause around organics specifically, and even just traditional recycling. That's something that we haven't necessarily all fully conquered. Mm-hmm. So everybody's just kind of still learning and has to stop and think okay, should this go in the recycling or not? So it's an ongoing process, but just starting with the things you know or the things that you're interested in, you're more likely to be successful.
Yeah. And thinking about opportunities our residents have for doing that type of thing. We talked about organics. One other thing I think of too is we've hosted some of these. I think, are they called solar power hours? Maybe they have a different name, but the ability residents can come in and hear from companies that can put solar on your home. That's another opportunity, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's something we've done. I think the name has changed a little bit, but that's essentially what they are, is opportunities to come in and learn about solar. We're actually talking about putting together another webinar around organics now that we've kind of had it in the community for a while, moving forward with that. I think was it last spring? We had a webinar around zero waste practices. So just to kind of think about the things that you use in your home and maybe how to reduce your waste a little bit. So yeah, there's always something going on in terms of workshops, webinars. We've been trying to record anything we do in person so you can watch it at your own convenience because, sometimes the timing doesn't work out. So there's a lot of webinars already on our website you can go back and check out if you're interested in a topic.
Good. And then also, maybe solar made me think of this because this is part of your presentation to council. Could you talk about our React program a little bit about what that's about and how I think that makes us unique?
Yeah, absolutely. That actually just launched today. It's a tool we put together. It's on our city website. If you just go in there and look up React Eden Prairie, it's a tool to help people understand the actual rooftop solar potential of their home. So it'll give you a little pop-up with information about generation capacity, the potential cost of a system, your carbon savings, that kind of thing. And then there's also a handful of different tips not related to solar as part of that information, just things to think about in your home to make it more sustainable and more energy efficient. And as part of that, we're actually challenging people to report what they've been doing in their home so we can kind of get an idea of what people are doing really well, what they might need help with, where we can focus our attention a little bit more. And then we'll send you a certificate. And it'll be, we have rankings of bronze, silver, and gold, so kind of a challenge to see what level your household might be at. And that's online as of today.
Awesome. Good. And then we haven't talked too much about water conservation, but that's another area, right, where simple steps can help a lot, right?
Yeah. This is really the time of year when we start to see people really interested in our smart irrigation controller rebate program. As we're all, it's raining today, but as we get ready for the summer and sort of taking care of our lawns, we offer a rebate program for people who utilize smart irrigation controllers. So really that means it's not going to run in the rain. It runs the appropriate times and not endlessly, just to really make sure that however you're watering your lawn, it's most effective and not wasteful, because that can certainly add up. And that rebate is up to $175 pre-tax. So
good.
It's pretty popular. For like the next 2 months, we'll see a steady stream of rebate applications come in as people get ready for the spring and summer.
Okay. Anything I haven't hit on in terms of sustainability opportunities for people?
Well, one thing I think is a pretty easily accessible program that doesn't get as much use as we might hope it would is green power purchase programs from utilities. So WindSource is a really commonly known example from Excel. Installing rooftop solar for people, for some people that's a little out of reach. And that's okay. But there are ways that you can power your home with renewables that are really very little additional money in the cost of a month. So I think we're talking anywhere from $45 to $60 a year, depending on your household energy use. But then you can have all of your home's energy powered by wind. So would certainly be helpful in terms of moving utilities along with their renewable goals as well.
Good. And then maybe a couple questions about the commission too. We have, it's hard to keep track because we actually have we've had enough interest in the commission where we've grown in numbers. I think we have up to 11 members, or is it 9? 9. I'm thinking, I know HRDC is 13. 9 members. There used to be 5. It was a 5-member commission. Now it's 9. And so I think we've had quite a bit of interest from our residents that, again, can be appointed to a commission that the function is to focus on sustainability issues and advise the council on sustainability issues. And we talked about this earlier, you kind of manage that commission, because the hope is, people that volunteer to do this, we're not asking them to have to put in, dozens of hours a month or even feel like it's a part-time job. We want citizen advisors, and they do, and you'll probably mention this, but they do volunteer at different events to help educate. I think educate's number one. But can you talk a little bit about maybe what's on their docket these days, what's on their agenda, and maybe those events that they are or have been a part of?
Yeah, so most recently we've been spending a lot of time, the Sustainability Commission actually, they were the impetus for the React Eden Prairie program. They were really interested in figuring out ways to help an average person figure out how they can help with our climate action plan. So we've spent a number of months talking through that, doing research, trying to figure out the best way to help people and make it a useful tool. So that's been a lot of our work the last few months, certainly. We have various policies that will come through. They're really a good sounding board for the things that we're thinking about at a staff level to help us sort of refine and make them applicable for residents in the future. And then, yeah, like you said, they do tons of outreach, and we just had a Eco Expo with the Eden Prairie AM Rotary Club. That they came and helped staff the booth, talk to residents about that. We have another event coming up next weekend, the Arbor Day and Green Fair, again, where they'll be out there talking to the community, helping them understand their sustainability options. We actually have a number of light kits that were provided by Xcel Energy to hand out. So we'll have a huge box of LED light bulbs ready for residents that come through. But they pretty much single-handedly put together the organics webinars last year that we did to educate the community. We have, I think, 3 or 4 commission members now are certified master recyclers through Hennepin County. So they've really been able to take the lead on that. Yeah, they're a great group. They're very helpful, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, that's great to hear. When and where is the Arbor Day Green Fair event?
That is next Saturday, April 30th at Round Lake Park from 9 to noon.
Okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
I think I remembered it correctly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you knew all the cities that were in your high school, you pretty much have it. Hey, I want to go back to that. I just thought of that. Okay. So, because I don't want to, when you're looking at me like Tornado, Brewster, I think I would have remembered. Okay. And then you talked about Wendy and Fulda. So north of there, do you remember Slayton and Chandler, Minnesota?
Yes.
I swear they had a tornado. Does that ring a bell?
That maybe.
We'll check after the podcast. But I just,
you know who might know that? Rod
Rue, city engineer Rod Rue.
Mm-hmm.
Is he from there too?
He's from Lamberton, I think.
Okay.
Which is a little bit north of there.
Okay. Yeah, but I remember like within the span of a couple days, I was in Slayton and Chandler. I may have been in Fulda. In Brewster, but a lot of the discussion had been about the devastation of some tornadoes that had occurred there. Maybe it had been like 5 years earlier, but
maybe
either way,
maybe it wasn't.
You
Brewster.
know more than I do. You were
I know that it wasn't Brewster. That's all I know.
North of Brewster.
My dad will probably listen to this and think, "My goodness, girl, how did you not remember any of this?" It probably was close.
No, it's just this is all off the cuff. We didn't plan any of this, so it just came up in conversation. But your parents are still there?
They are.
Okay. I'm trying to think about the highway. What's probably the major highway that goes through there?
Highway 60.
Highway 60. Hey, Highway 60. Exactly. All right. I think we covered the position pretty well. I want to talk a little bit about you personally, and outside of this job, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to getting back to traveling. That's something that's been on the back burner a little bit the last couple of years. We're going up to the Boundary Waters in a few weeks. I have a trip planned to Nashville, all sorts of fun stuff coming up this summer. Otherwise, hiking, biking, kind of being outside. I like to sometimes unsuccessfully plant things around my yard.
Okay.
Kind of working on building up some sort of sanctuary at some point.
What do you plant?
Perennials and annuals. I'm not really good about figuring out the right places for them. So like if they're a full sun plant, I'm just like, why can't you live under the tree? This is fine. So it's kind of an ongoing process. We also recently remodeled our entire basement, which is great now, but was a little bit of a process. So we're in a little of a breather. We're taking a time out from any remodeling. I have a lot of ideas in my head, but maybe not the skills to make them all happen.
When you say remodeled basement, like you did a lot of it yourself?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you create a finished basement or just redo a already finished basement?
Well, we essentially had to start from scratch because the basement flooded.
Okay.
Got a drain tile system put in and then built the walls back from the cement block from scratch, built up the floor, that whole thing.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a process.
So can I tell my quick basement story?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we redid our basement I think it was pre-COVID, but it's good timing. But I've lived in the house for 22 years now, and probably the first 3 years after we moved in, the basement had been finished, but it was not really well done, and it was not. It wasn't fully finished, but it looked like some bad 70s basement with the wood paneling and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so my neighbor's over. At the time, he's since moved out west, but he was over at the time, and I'm like, I can't wait to, redo this basement. So however this was done, it's just such a shoddy job in terms of what it looks like, and yeah. So
I can see where this is going.
Yeah, he's like, Rick, the previous homeowner and I did it together. Okay. Yeah, that was tough to get out of. So I actually had him. He helped build a fence. I paid him, and he built a fence in our yard. So I felt bad. So
that'll make up for the bruised ego.
But I now have a redone basement, and so do you.
Yeah.
What new skill or ability have you always wanted to learn?
So I played saxophone in high school, from
nice.
I don't know, 5th grade through senior, and that was fine. That was fun.
Best saxophonist in Brewster.
I don't think that's true, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being in band. I'm thankful that I was in band. However, a few years ago, I sort of got the urge to learn how to play guitar, and I took lessons for a little while. I thought, oh, okay, this is going to be great. It can't be that hard, right? I already played one instrument.
Did you start with an acoustic guitar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That also, I think, was probably a poor choice. I don't know. It's just so completely different in how you play it and approach it. And it's painful as you're getting your fingers used to holding the strings. So I didn't stick with it. But if I could do that one skill, that would be it. I just want to skip past the indented and calloused finger part.
Yeah. There is a employee here, and I won't say her name, but she was telling us the other day about how her husband's learning to play guitar, and it's very painful for the rest of the family. It's like, Dad, please don't practice again. Please don't practice.
I could see that.
Yeah, it's electric, I'm pretty sure, plugged into an amp or something, but it's hard. I don't play a single instrument. I love music. I'm a huge music lover, but I can't play anything. But obviously a sax is a lot different than a guitar, but I get your thought process.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be cool. You're right, though. It probably wouldn't be cool for anybody within earshot as I'm learning the guitar. So it actually wasn't even great for me.
Well, stick with it. Stick with it. What would you say among your friends, peers, that what would you be best known for? What would they say?
Well, I would hope they would say I'm a great friend, and maybe quick with a laugh and a smile, and generally fun to be around, and they'd also probably say I was their tall friend.
Their tall friend? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Their tall friend.
Their tall friend.
What's something that most people haven't done, but you have done?
Does going on this podcast count?
No. You are, you are number 44, I believe.
Okay. Well,
so
that's
43 other people, not a lot.
Most people.
Yeah. Hopefully the answer isn't, most people haven't listened to this at all, but but hopefully they do. They will listen to you. That's the thing I like. You talked about your dad listening. I mean, at a minimum, I know that the people that come on, their friends and relatives listen, so that's good.
Right.
And coworkers.
Right.
But I think we'll get way more than that.
Yeah.
The podcast, no, this does not count. There's something else that you've done that sets you apart.
I'm not sure on that one. I can't think of anything.
Okay. Fair enough. You're on a desert island. You can only bring 3 things. What are those 3 things?
So, my fiance, Brett, first of all, because he's awesome.
That's good.
Obviously.
I like that, yeah.
This probably isn't technologically possible, but we're just going to pretend that it is.
Yeah.
Some sort of music playing system and the ability to listen to Spotify. So I guess there's internet.
No, that's fine. No, you can do that. Yeah. I think it's possible.
Because I can't imagine just living on an island forever, just never hearing music again.
Yeah, you maybe had the ability to download everything ever recorded, so you might not have a signal, but I get it.
Right.
I like that.
And endless power somehow, probably from solar panels.
Yes, absolutely.
So maybe that should be my last answer. Water shoes. I don't want to not have the right shoes to be on an island because you got to go in and out of the ocean, rocks.
Oh, just the right shoes just to be in and around.
Right.
What are those? Is
Well,
it,
like either sandals or those like really old water shoes that were just like nylon kind of.
oh, and you can just kind of walk out in the
Right.
water with them. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that would be an important part
Is your
of island life.
Is your fiance gonna have those shoes too?
I suppose. I mean, it wouldn't be fair to leave him out of that. And it would take a while to like get used to just walking barefoot in an island.
Yeah. So speaking of the music part, because you said having the music with you, so what kind of music do you listen to? What's your favorite music? Or maybe also with that, I'm going to ask with that, like maybe what are some of the last couple concerts you attended?
Sure. Well, I'm a child of the 90s.
Yeah, that's right.
So I appreciate 90s music quite a bit. My friends would probably be quick to say she is a big fan of the Dave Matthews Band, which is accurate.
Yeah.
So that's actually the last concert I was at.
Okay. I have not been to a Dave Matthews concert, but there's a term for, because I've been to Grateful Dead concerts, so and there's Deadheads and there's Parrot Heads for Jimmy Buffett.
Right.
There's a name for you guys, isn't there?
I don't think so.
There isn't?
Not that I'm familiar with.
Okay, I know.
And I don't know what it would be.
I thought there was.
Dave
That's my fault.
heads?
No,
that would be.
No,
that doesn't make sense.
This whole Brewster tornado and now this is just not going well. But no, I thought he has a huge following.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Where was the concert you saw him at? I don't remember him being here.
No, they're infrequently here. It actually was at Summerfest last.
Oh, Milwaukee.
Yes.
But my old stomping grounds.
But I think you're probably going to be more familiar with.
Yes.
Every summer for the last, let's not talk about how many years. I head out to Alpine Valley.
Yes.
Which is just the greatest venue ever.
Yes.
None of it makes sense. Like you're just in the middle of farmland.
Yes, this is awesome.
Yeah. So.
I had just, so I know Dave Matthews has probably been at Red Rocks, and I don't know if I talked to somebody about this on a podcast, but my goal is to get to a concert at Red Rocks, Colorado, Denver. And I almost went during the pandemic. But I tell people that Alpine Valley is like the poor person's Red Rocks. It doesn't have that view, but it's an outdoor amphitheater in the Midwest that is really cool. It's about a half an hour outside of Madison, Wisconsin. So yeah, and so it's less than a 4-hour drive. It's like a 3.5 hour drive. I know they're talking about amphitheaters here in Minnesota, but
right.
I probably, Jen, saw throughout the 80s and 90s 30 shows there growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome. So when you said the annual trip, is it for different shows?
No, they usually play there every summer.
Oh yeah.
So that's how it works out.
Yeah.
So some friends, we've all been going for pushing 20 years now. It's the summer tradition.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
It's fantastic out there.
When you say 90s music, there's a lot of different 90s music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 90s music of grunge and what Nirvana brought in the early 90s, and then Pearl Jam, to a lot of different hard rock, to different pop. We talked about Dave Matthews. There's a lot of different 90s music.
Yeah, I was kind of all over the place. Obviously, Pearl Jam, Nirvana. I found myself listening to like sort of popish hip hop, so your Vanilla Ices of the world.
Oh yeah, you hesitated on that.
All of those good old jams. I obviously listened to Nirvana, but I didn't love them as much as some of the other bands.
Yeah.
But then I'd go listen to Whitney Houston and Color Me Bad and just all over the place.
Yeah. No, it's all. I mean, there's an absolute place for like cheesy pop music or catchy songs. Absolutely. Whitney Houston. Did you say Whitney Houston? I mean, she's got like 10 number one hits, 10, 12 number one hits.
Yeah. Yeah. And just hanging out, listen to that stuff with your friends. It's good times.
Oh, yeah.
But modern day, so I've been to Red Rocks.
Okay, cool.
It was pretty great.
Who'd you see there?
The Head and the Heart.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's music now. Do you like
Can't
that?
remember who the opener was.
Was that about going there for the venue, or did you travel to see Head in the Heart?
A little of both.
Okay, I like them.
A little of
I've
both.
seen them too. I saw them at a music festival.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that kind of music. That's kind of they wouldn't call it alt country now, but folky. And I'm not a big Lumineers person as much, but I like them.
Yeah. I had been out there previously. I actually went to a showing of The Big Lebowski at Red Rocks. Was my first experience at Red Rocks.
That's awesome.
It was as awesome as you'd think it would be.
That is so cool.
There's people, and it was a total coincidence. We were out there on vacation and we saw, what? They're playing The Big Lebowski at Red Rocks? Well, yeah, we're probably going to go to that. Yeah. So people were dressed up. It was super fun. So that would have been my first concert there, would have been the Head and the Heart. And I cannot remember the name of the opener.
It's okay.
I like Alpine better.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
Red Rocks is obviously beautiful and it's special. It's just something very fun about Alpine.
Yeah, and I think it's probably because the trip that you always make every year, and there's a certain like nostalgia to that. It's funny you bring it up because I probably haven't been there since the 90s. This might not have been the last show I was at, or almost went to. The last show I almost went to was Stevie Ray Vaughan is a blues guitarist, and he actually died in a plane crash.
I was going to say, was that when you were there?
No. So I had to go back to college early, and this is at the end of August of the probably the last time I would have gone there. And yeah, he died in a plane crash leaving that concert. But my good friends went. I couldn't go. I had to go back to school in Ohio. But yeah. But no, it's a great place. I've seen so many different people there.
And every year I get a little worried that they're maybe not going to keep it open because it kind of goes dormant sometimes where just nothing happens there all summer.
Yeah. Well, like Red Rocks and even places around here, I mean, they're programmed all the time. I have no idea how many shows Apple Valley does a year. I don't even know. I'll have to check.
Couple. Not
That's
very
it?
many. Yeah.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
Huh. Well, any final words of wisdom for us?
Words of wisdom?
Yeah. Or just kind of a final comment before we wrap up. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you. This was an interesting experience. I didn't anticipate ever being on a podcast, so
yes,
I could check that off my list.
Yes, only in Eden Prairie. No, thank you, Jen, for coming on, and I appreciate it.